Good morning. Okay, sorry for those of you that might have witnessed the first minute of me setting up there. So I'll try and edit that out later on. Good morning on a very cold -4 degrees Celsius morning up here in Yorkshire. On my way down to West Midlands again. For those of you who've been on the live stream before, you'll notice my regular commute. So slightly different this morning, -4 degrees, and yeah, it's a little chilly. Feels like temperature is pretty much -4. There's not much wind about. Hence, there's also quite a lot of fog around as well, and yeah, there's a fair amount of muck on the windscreen from the salt that's got put down overnight and last night as well. So excuse the need to clear it now and again, but I'm sure you'd rather have a clear view, as would I. So yeah, heading down to Coventry, just joined the M18 off the M62, and I thought we'd have a conversation about range. It's certainly affected by temperature. The ioniq lately, I did a video not so long ago where it was +4 degrees. I would say -4 today, and hence the title of the video as well. And basically, I reckoned I could do 150 miles range on the 50% battery. So now we're at the opposite side of zero at -4. Thought we'd see what we can get here. Now, there's going to have to be a little bit of amateur maths going on in all of this as well as we progress, because we've got not a full battery at the moment. Heading to a rapid charger just off the M18 at Doncaster, which is a pod point rapid, so we'll hopefully get around about 50 kilowatt an hour there. Currently I have 85 miles range. That's based on 77% battery, so we won't be seeing, unless I was to do something ridiculous like turn the heat off, which makes the battery inefficient anyway, we won't be seeing 150 miles range today, I am sure. Although it is a day for driving fairly conservatively because of the fact that there's so much fog about. I'm glad to say at the moment there's not too much traffic about, so I'll touch wood as I say that. So it was interesting overnight. I hear that Tesla had their earnings call for the fourth quarter. I'm not aware of the details just yet. I did hear or read one thing this morning actually, which does interest me. I'm really hopeful that the Tesla Model Y will be a sort of SUV version of the Model 3. The Model 3 is a good proportioned car. I think it's got some interesting quirks that I'm not 100% convinced of, like the door handles. But at the end of the day, you know what? The range and the efficiency of it, well, the efficiency is comparable to the ioniq. So yeah, it's it's an intriguing proposition, and the price of it as well. We yet to see UK pricing, but if they ever do make a $35,000 Model 3, depending on how our currency markets go, I think a £35,000 or more likely £42,000 Model 3, a car with 300 odd miles range, is quite an intriguing proposition. Unless Hyundai, of course, in the next version of this do actually pop in the 64 kilowatt battery that we see in the Kona, which I know there's there's all this the media hype saying, no, it's going to be a 30 or 39 kilowatt hour battery, which will really be a 40, and that'll be great. But actually, stick a 64 in it, and well, why couldn't they stick a 64 in it? They managed to put a 64 into a Kona, and the floor pan is arguably virtually the same as the ioniq. And with new ioniq coming out, if that's not the case, then why not use the floor pan of the Kona to form the new ioniq? There's very little in it. I believe the ioniq does share the floor pan with the Kia Soul, and we know the new Kia Soul is also coming with a 64 kilowatt battery. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but there's no certainty in that, obviously. So yeah, travelling down this morning, we're actually getting, although it's now -5, actually getting 4 miles per kilowatt, travelling at this nice steady pace. Yes, behind this lorry, but you can see there's quite a reasonable distance between me and the lorry. Travelling at around about 54, 55 mile an hour. Quite comfortable that, given the weather conditions. And 4 miles per kilowatt hour. I'm quite comfortable with that as well for -4. Oh, good morning. See, somebody's just joined us. That's good. Nice to know I'm not on my own. Oh, and now another one. Okay, cool. So please feel free to send me a message with Streamlabs that I'm using today. Your message does actually pop up on my screen, so I can actually see your message and should be able to read it out. So if you want to say hello, please feel free to do so. Let me know where you are. If you're in a very warm country at the moment, like Australia, please feel free to share your temperature. You never know, it might make me feel a little bit better, because at the moment it's -5 degrees Celsius in Yorkshire. I'm heading off of my daily commute, and basically hammering it as long as the weather conditions allow, because you can see it's very foggy, down to a rapid charger at Lidl at Doncaster on the M18. So good morning, everyone. Just talking a moment ago about the earnings call from Tesla. The bit that I found really interesting on the bit that I've read this morning is that they're saying that the production of the Model Y, which I'm actually quite looking forward to that. I'd like a sort of bigger than the Kona 4x4 type version of electric car. Quite interested in the Byton, the Byton M-Byte concept that's out. But yeah, that sort of size car, sort of Qashqai size, if they could make it as efficient as the ioniq or indeed the Kona, then yeah, I'd be very interested in that. Yeah, I know the Kia Niro electric is also coming out, and yeah, that definitely is a car that interests me, although I think for some reason, maybe it's just me, I need to have a closer look at it, but I think the interior quality of the Hyundai over the Kia is just a little bit better. So yeah, Model Y is looking as if it will go, well, I said on the earnings call from Tesla, it's going to go into production and mass production. So not just a few cars popping off the production line, but mass production, they're saying in 2020. Usually what Tesla mean when they say mass production, as we know from what they did with the Model 3, we're looking at over 3,000 to 7,000 units per week. They are looking at using the Gigafactory 1 for that, which is obviously in the US. Yes, they've got the site in China, which they need to build. The intimation from the earnings call was that they're not going to actually, they're going to build the Gigafactory in China, but it sounds almost like they haven't got the money yet to equip the Gigafactory in China, and they actually need to produce more revenue in order to be able to do that, which is perfectly understandable given the growth and expansion that Tesla have committed themselves to in the last, well, what must be coming up the last 10 years, really, if you go back to their conception of the very first Roadster. So yeah, Tesla Model Y is basically confirmed by the earnings call as going into mass production in 2020, which I think is good news. It does mean we won't see the Tesla Model Y in this country probably at least until 2022. For those of you that not maybe quite sure, we're filming from the UK, so Europe 2021, early 2022 for the Model Y, and America should be getting theirs as mass production begins, really, 2020. So yeah, another good reason to move to America, I suppose. Those of you that say out there, yeah, good morning. Stud, again, didn't confirm your name, whether it is Stu or not. Be nice if you could. Quite happy to call you Stud as well, if you're okay with that. Yeah, it's a bit of a foggy morning, definitely. Great to see the variety of British drivers that interpret fog as needing rear fog lights or not. I'm sure that's a debate. Martin, hello Martin, pleased to meet you. Glad that you could join us. Yeah, British drivers seem to have a bit of a strange notion whether they're going to use rear fog lights or not. I know with the ioniq, one thing that I find a little strange is we don't have front fog lights. I quite like front fog lights. Maybe they're not necessary because the headlights on the ioniq are so good. And by that I mean dipped beam LED headlights. The main beam lights are a source of much contention. I hardly ever use the main beam, I must admit, even though I do live in a really rural location. And the reason for that is because the dip beam LED lights are so good. I do use high beam, I guess, just to be cautious, see if there's anything coming across the roads, because we have quite a few deer nearby us as well. So over night time I do put the high beam on where I need to put it on, but it's not that great, I must admit. Dip beams are brilliant, but yeah, it'd be nice in a way, really, if Hyundai actually equipped front fog lights as in the daytime running lights. Because I don't know if any of you know this, but when you see the headlights on an ioniq, the daytime running lights actually switch off. Which, yeah, I'm sure that's all part of power conservation, but I'd quite happily have the daytime running lights on as well, particularly in these sort of conditions. Rear fog light, it is just the one, I believe. Yeah, again, that's not ideal. Probably could do with dual. Actually, I think it's just the one. When we stop at the charger, actually, we'll have a look. We'll leave it switched on for a bit, and we'll have a look whether it is one or not. So, it's actually the first time I've really driven this car in this sort of density of fog. So temperature at the moment -4. Still getting 4 miles per kilowatt hour, but then I guess as I'm now at about 40 mile an hour on this road, I suppose I should be getting the best economy out of it. Temperature inside 22 degrees, heat is on. sure that's a song, isn't it, from Beverly Hills Cop, The Heat Is On. I'm not going to sing it. You'll be glad to know. So yeah, heated seat is on as well, just on its lowest setting. It's taking the edge off the bit of coldness that was there. Did precondition the car to 22 degrees. And in the heated steering wheel also has been on. I'm just turning that off now. So we've used a fair bit of power keeping me warm. And yeah, not very exciting, is it, crawling in traffic for everyone? But needs must. So if you've got any questions, now's a great time to ask them. In this sort of weather, I would definitely advise preconditioning your battery. I would definitely advise keeping yourself warm because of the vents. Sorry, Martin, you'll have heard this last time. The vents underneath the rear seat basically absorb the cabin temperature through and run the temperature across the battery. So keeping the battery nice and warm with the cabin temperature is really helpful. And actually, one thing I found the other day when I was charging between what's the GOM say? Okay, so currently, I'll go back to that, 70% battery, Martin, and 78 miles range with, as I say, I'm getting 4 miles per kilowatt hour. So yeah, it's looking like it's just over 1% per, sorry, 1 mile per percent at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to charge up to 94% because my journey will be 97 miles to Coventry. What I find after I rapid charge and keeping the heating on and keeping warm in the car whilst it's charging is that actually the tail end of the charge goes a bit quicker. The other day I was sat there and I was getting I was at 93% and it literally told me I'd got 4 minutes remaining for that final 1% of charge on the rapid, and I'd got the heating on and literally within seconds, that may just have been an anomaly of course, but literally within, I'd say probably 30 seconds, it took on board that final 30%, sorry, final 1%. So it wasn't 3 minutes or 4 minutes, it was literally 30 seconds to take that final 1% one. So, and again, not much point in getting cold. So I think there's also a definite advantage where you can, again, weather conditions allowing, traffic allowing, to actually, if you know you're going to a charger in the early part of your journey, to actually put your foot down within speed limits and actually get there. Again, that keeps the energy within your battery nice and warm. The chemicals within the battery will flow a lot easier, and the performance is generally better. Now what I find when I leave a rapid charger as well, because obviously the charging process itself actually heats the battery too, is that basically the first sort of, say probably 15-20 miles, I probably only use about 11-12 miles range. On previous days that's been the case. We'll see what it says or what it does today. And that's why it doesn't really faze me too much in the fact that I'll have 97 miles to go with 94% battery. And as I say, at the moment, to give you a comparison, we are at now 68% battery left and 75 miles showing on the GOM, the guessometer, and therefore, I can confidently say it's doing 1 mile, probably 1.1 mile per percent. So if it does what it's done in previous times, although it is -5 as I say at the moment, then that extra sort of 9-10 miles range that it sort of gives you when the battery is warm after rapid charging will be very useful, because obviously if I've got 94% battery to do 97 miles, it's going to be a bit marginal. There is plenty of chargers on the way down, so that's not the issue, and I don't mind stopping again, although I'd rather not. But I would think probably these temperatures, that 97 mile journey, I'm probably going to get there with about, probably about 18 miles spare range. So I reckon the GOM will show when I'm at 94%. It'll probably show about 116, maybe 114. So we'll see. Those of you that might be new to having an electric vehicle, a little tip for winter driving. Round about October time, as soon as you start getting the first sense of any sort of frosts coming, try and use up as much as possible of your dilute washer bottle content and start putting in wash fluid that is capable of being down to at least -10. You can get, I think it's called Pre-Stone, which is a yellow wash liquid. Occasionally you'll see it in Asda's. You can buy it online as well. It's not cheap, but that will work down to -25. And the reason why I say that is because you've got no heat coming from your electric motor, or very little heat coming from your electric motor. So on a day like today, the ice that's on your bonnet isn't particularly going to go anywhere, and nor is it going to warm any pipes that might be going from your washer bottle, or indeed is it going to warm your washer bottle. And if that freezes, you're stuffed. We all know what the roads are like in Britain in terms of salt, etc. You need to keep your windscreen clean, you need to see where you're going, and especially if you do videos like this. And basically if you don't, then yikes. So yeah, round about October time, start putting in neat washer solution. Okay. If it does get a bit smeary because it's neat, you may be using a cheaper brand of washing solution, and yeah, probably dilute it just a tiny bit, but I wouldn't put more than 200 ml of water in it, because you do not want your pipes freezing, and this is, I guess a little negative thing about an electric vehicle, because you don't have the heat coming from the internal combustion engine. Those pipes will freeze. So we're looking at next junction for the charger that I want. So M18 junction 3, A6182, for those of you that might be passing the area at any time. This is a rapid charger at my local Lidl, and very, very handy. There's a nice bit of dual carriageway just before it as well, as we come off the motorway here. So you follow the signs for iPort, so you take your first exit. And as you see, we've been a little bit stuck in traffic, so now up to 4.2 miles per kilowatt hour. Temperature's increased a little bit, actually it's showing -3, so we've gained a whole 2 degrees, which is good. Got 71 miles on the gun, and we're at 64% battery, so yeah, we're only going to add 30%, but I need that 30% to get me down to Coventry. If you tap the battery icon on the ioniq screen, it gives you an expected charging time. I find with fast chargers, as they call them, we call them rapid chargers, so they mean the 50 kilowatt an hour type charger, that basically they underestimate the time by about 2 or 3 minutes. And again, this can be weather variable as well. So I would anticipate our charge is going to be at least 24 minutes. So, yep, there's the camera off. Sorry about that. So we're going to use an ABT charger here. It's a fairly new, well, it's a brand new charger here. It's not even on the PodPoint network, so I don't actually need to open the PodPoint app. It's a free charger. It's funded by Doncaster Council and Lidl. Lidl donate the land. Doncaster Council supply the electricity. Excuse me. As long as I don't need to use the app, I will film the process of actually plugging the charger in and show you exactly how that's done. And we'll also try and have a look at the fog lights here on the ioniq as well. Don't know if any of you spotted that on the roundabout there, but they've actually got some like pipework sculptures, which they're growing hedgerow across. Doncaster's really good at this actually, and it's sort of, they use it to reflect the engineering background of the city. So those pipework sculptures, they've got the hedgerow grown over, which I'm sure we'll see in future videos. They've actually got the Vulcan bomber on, because we're not that far from Doncaster Airport, and that was a base for Vulcan bombers during the Cold War. And I think there's actually one left that's actually flying, which is in the Yorkshire Air Museum, of all places. Other things that Doncaster's famous for is the Flying Scotsman as well. There's a lot of railway engineering works here, and indeed believe that was built in this area also. So, I think this is about the second Jenkinson lorry I've followed today. So we're not sponsored by Jenkinson. Don't even really know what they do. Forest products. What's a forest product? Wood chips? Wood pellets for power stations, maybe? Don't know. We'll be needing plenty of power today. So here's the Lidl. And when you come into the car park here, charger's on the right, and it is vacant. That's just good. Plenty of car parking at this new supermarket. The ioniq, your fuel flap is on the rear passenger side, so it does involve a little bit of a manoeuvre. Another tip for winter driving in the ioniq: make sure your rear camera's clean. It's not good. It gets lots of smudge, as Bjorn would say in Norway. So, biomass in that lorry, Martin. Okay, cool. Thanks for that. So, I'm just leaving the engine running. We're handbrake on. Engine, motor. Listen to me. I'm just going to show you here. So, we're 63%, showing 21 minutes for a fast charge. I'm just going to unplug the phone. Apologies if the rain. I will knock it off quickly if it does. I didn't. Okay. Outside temperature -4. And you see now we've got 4.1 miles per kilowatt just there. So let's just pop out and have a quick look at the rear. This is one thing as well with the Ioniq. You get lots of dirt around this sort of rear door edge. Not quite sure why. Okay, so yeah, there we go. Rear fog light, so that needs a bit of a clean. And rear camera on the Ioniq is there, just here. Give that a bit of a whack. And yeah, nice. No. Okay, so opening the flap for the charger, just there. You get a warning on your dashboard as well. It says key not in vehicle, but also when you open that, it does actually. I'll just turn the power off. And we'll turn the lights off. And let's get this charger working. So, with being CCS, you want to get these off. If you've charged overnight, then I suggest that you clean round, as I've done on there on the port, with your finger before you go anywhere. Otherwise the flap can freeze. So we want DC free on these chargers. It's an ABB charger, sorry. So touch the screen, CCS. We're gonna plug in as it suggests. Sorry about that, but needed to untuck the cables and then press start. Because this isn't on the PodPoint app and you hear the charger click over, you don't actually need to use their app. Yes, Martin, it is the Premium SE, so it has got leather seats. I'll give you a look at those in a moment. So they are very, very nice, very comfy. Let's show you. There we go. So you get a nice sort of copper trim. These seats have done, with my fat back end in it, done 20,000 miles now. So you can see a little bit of wear just here. We're getting in and out. There's a bit of moisture off my hand. But yeah, perforated leather, so you're heated and chilled. Controls for the seats are here in terms of their heating and chilling. There's your heat steering wheel underneath it. Auto hold, that stops the car from creeping forward when you take your foot off the brake. I like that option, I must admit. Good at traffic lights rather than actually keeping your foot on the brake all the time. Your electronic handbrake. Passenger heated and ventilated seats. And your parking sensors, which, a little tip here, if you're moving forward to something, don't expect the parking sensors to come on automatically after a journey. They won't. So if you're creeping forward to see what the gap is, just make sure they're switched on and just press it to get it on. Passenger seat, my wife's not in here as much as I am, so yeah, that's nicely pristine. You do have a cubby box underneath the armrest here, and inside you have a USB cable. Now this charges at a slightly higher current than the USB cable that is at the front here. And I've got a USB cable I use to charge the phone, which is the white cable. on the 12-volt socket there. That's attached actually to my dash cam. Okay. But yeah, lovely car. As you get the chrome accents. Let's just check we're charging. You know you're charging by the blue lights as on your dashboard there. Just go close in. And now one of the really good things is, as you can see, we're there 69%. We've got 19 minutes to go. One of the really good things with an electric car, unlike a petrol car, you can turn it on while you're fueling up. And if you actually start it, not just into the accessory mode, which that's how you do that, you don't put your foot on the brake, you just press that once, then actually you can run the heat. You do get this warning: if climate function is turned on while the battery is being charged, charging time will be delayed. But yeah, that definitely is okay, because I want to keep warm, and also I'm keeping the battery warm. So yeah, probably a few crumbs down here, but I'm going to show you the QI charger as well. This is somewhere else where you can actually charge your phone, providing the cover on the phone isn't too thick and your phone's compatible, of course. Let's go into EV, and we're now at 79%, sorry, 71. Should let her read, and we're showing 18 minutes remaining. Glove box signs. Take some rubbish out of there. Spare cables, spare glasses. Yeah, decent room. Not huge, but yeah, decent. The internal mirror. You've got the green light there is for the dipping mechanism when if you don't want the dipping mechanism on. So if you've got somebody dazzling behind you, basically it will dull the lights coming from behind, and yeah, that's very good. Ventilation, you've got the chrome accents on here, copper accents rather. Copper accents are brilliant. I really like them. At first I wasn't sure. I thought it was a bit like, you know, dare I say, my little girl's iPhone. I thought it might be a bit gimmicky, but actually I really like the copper accents on this, and these are even repeated around the LED headlights at the front and a few other places on the car, so they're good. Let's just have a look on here. So this control panel, you've got your lane keeping assist button, top left. You've got your blind spot warning, which is seated in your mirrors. I'll just show you that. So if you look on the mirror there, I'll zoom in on this a bit, can I? No, I can't zoom in, okay. So the in the mirrors, top right hand corner, you'll see replication of that blind spot symbol there. That's the one bit of the mirror that isn't heated, interestingly. The way that works is there are two radars in the rear bumper, just either side of the tailgate. When you look at the menu, that's what it tells you. So it's important to keep the rear bumper nice and clean. Very difficult in this weather. Thanks, Martin, I appreciate that comment. Yeah, should I be a car salesman? I think I should get commission. I wish Hyundai did do a referral program, actually, like Tesla did. And I know they're ending that soon, because that would, yeah, I think I'll probably help sell about 3 or 4 of these. You got your traction control off, which, yeah, I'm not that mad to turn that off in this weather. VESS, that is the, I don't know the exact sort of outcome of that, an acronym or abbreviation, but it's essentially
it's the vehicle's electronic synthesized sound. So that's the groaning noise that you sometimes hear when I'm at low speed. I don't like it, I must admit. I wish it did something a bit more Star Trek-y, spaceship-y sort of noise-wise, but it's yeah, it's necessary to warn people, particularly if they're visually impaired. However, I have to say, I don't think it's loud enough, because it doesn't make any difference. There's still people walking out on me, particularly at motorway services. But then the traffic noise from motorway services as well, obviously that's it, you know, can deafen people in itself. We then got the dashboard brightness there, and there's a good range of alteration for nighttime driving, which is really good. Seat memory control, so you've got seat controls on the side of your seat to alter your position, forward, back, the pitch angle of the seat as well. You've got 2 memories, and setting them's really easy. You just have to be handbrake on, and basically you press the set button, you get this display, and it says press button 1 or 2 to actually stop that. So you've got, I'm in position 1 at the moment. I don't put my seat in position 2 because my wife's 5'1", and I think I'll do myself an injury if I do that. But really simple, really straightforward. So Mark has just commented, and the reason I'm reading your comments out, by the way, is because on the YouTube version of this video, what happens is that I get your comments don't appear, which for those of you, for Martin who was watching the very first video I did live stream like this, that's probably a good thing, because not Martin but somebody else on that stream was a little bit strange, who I've since found out was a professional troll. Who knew there's such a thing? So yeah, so Mark Tyler anyway, down in Australia. Hello Mark, tell me what the temperature is, make me jealous, because look, it's -4 here now, and foggy. It's not nice. Yeah, so Mark's saying basically you can't turn the VESS off in Australia, although your test drive had no sound. That's interesting. It is really, really quiet, and I think when you come from a conventional internal combustion engine car, I think you're sort of looking for the same sort of noise in your brain, and it's not there, and it does seem really, really quiet. And then when you get the motor whine as you pick up speed, and the VESS fades out because it doesn't work at 70 mile an hour. I think it stops at somewhere around about 30, 35. You actually get a really sort of good, you know, sort of quiet whooshing noise from the motor, which is really addictive actually when you get, especially when you get your foot down. You pop this into sport mode. Let's just go through the modes actually. Hopefully this will help a few people as well. So back down here, you've got your drive mode. This cycles through 3 options in the ioniq. So I tend to drive mostly in eco mode, especially where distance is marginal. So I've got 97 miles to do, so with another 10% of my battery filling on this rapid, yeah, I'm gonna have a bit of a safety margin, but not a huge one. So yes, the drive mode we're selecting there, and on the dashboard here you can see you've got a nice green edge to the speedo, and it shows up to 70 mile an hour because you can preset. Oh good, no fog in Nottinghamshire. Excellent. I'm on my way down there, Andrew, so that's good to know. So this limits your speed to 70 mile an hour. I don't want any points on my license, so I do leave it set as that. I press the drive mode button again. We'll stay on the dashboard view here. You'll see the screen will alter, so you lose that green rim. You've still got your power band on the left, the warning lights between that and the speedometer, and you've then got the full range of taking you up to 120 mile an hour. No, I haven't been that fast, although I'd love to try it. You've got sun in Kent, no ice on the roads. Okay, I really need to move to the south of England. So yeah, 97 miles there on the GOM you're seeing, and underneath you've got 0 kilometers per hour. You cannot get rid of that, and at first I did feel that might be a bit distracting because you've got this number that's altering as your speed alters. I like digital speedos on cars, I must admit, and that sort of I thought would be a little bit off-putting. Okay, Martin, you've got -6, so you win the coldest temperature award. Excellent. And then of course you've got your remaining time for charging here. Now let's go to the steering wheel. Sorry, sport mode. You need to see sport mode. So there we go. Now this is where it gets a little bit nicer. I love this display. So your GOM moves to the top right hand corner. You've got your miles per hour in the center there, so you have got a digital speedo, and you've got a power band now. But notice it's not speedometer, it's percentage of power that you're applying. So you've got 0 to 100% there. Okay, but you still got your eco gauge power band on the left hand side, which that central one tends to make it a little bit redundant. But hey, I like it. And then you got the little sport icon there in the bottom right hand corner as well, next to the temperature and the amount of your odometer for how many miles you've done. So back into eco, normal, and sport. I have to say I'm usually in eco, and occasionally I pop it in sport when I know I've got enough range to get me where I need to be, and I know the charger's working at the other end, and I want to just have a little bit of fun. Or indeed, if you are getting a bit cramped up in traffic and stuff and you want to make a bit of a gap, sport mode is excellent for that. But notice I don't have any limitations set on the power there. So let's have a look at steering wheel controls. So on the left hand side you've got voice control. Now if you've got an iPhone or a smartphone, basically that links into the voice assistant. So I've got an Apple phone, so that links me to Siri. The circular button by the side of it, that actually will rotate you through your different audio options. So it'll take you from FM radio to DAB to medium wave if you have that enabled, and basically you can flick up and down the stations on this button here. Obviously you've got volume here. Push this in for mute, answering calls and stopping calls. So yeah, that's good. Regen paddle. Put my teeth in this morning. Regen paddle. Not had enough coffee. So that's your regen paddle for increasing the regen, and there's the regen paddle for decreasing the regen. Stalk behind here is your lighting stalk. So you rotate the end. I'm off at the moment because I'm charging. Auto, side lights, headlights, and you'll see in the right hand corner of the screen there, although it's out of focus because we're looking at the stalk, you'll see the different display you get on the dashboard there. So that's headlights, side lights, auto, they're off at the moment, and I'm going to leave them off. We'll turn them back on because of the fog as we leave. This is your fog light button or lever, so we'll put them on. You press it down and you'll see an orange icon there. Okay, turn it off, press it down again, and you'll see it's disappeared. Okay, so where are we at now? So that's the left hand side. Right hand side. Okay, this gets interesting. So cruise control. So you've got mode here. So you press that for cruise. And yes, we're parked up and we can put cruise control on. To set your cruise speed, it automatically will set when you're stationary to 20 miles an hour. So press down. Oh, it's not letting me do it. It says smart cruise control conditions not met. Let's do that again. Yeah, it does want me to be in drive. Okay, fair enough. You then go into limit. Can I set that while I'm parked? Yes, I can. Okay, so limit has now gone to 20 miles an hour, and you can alter it singularly, those numbers there, one by pushing that lever to plus or down to alter the speed up and down. Okay, but what you can do is you can hold that lever, okay, and it will go up in 5 mile an hour increments. Okay, it will go above 70. £105 miles per hour is its maximum limit. I don't know where that's a legal speed limit. Autobahn, you might want to set it on there, I guess, but there's no speed limit there. Okay, let's bring it back down to 70. Okay. What's really good with this is the fact that it does alter sort of one by one, so you can fine tune it. But also, you're on the motorway, you're doing 70, and you get into the overhead gantries on the smart motorways, and they tell you, oh, do you know what? You need to be doing 50 now. So you just hold the lever down. 4 seconds later, you're at 50 mile an hour on the limit. If you are driving over that speed, you will hear the car basically go chime at you to tell you you're over the speed limit you've just set for yourself. Okay, to turn off the limit, you change the mode again, you press mode up here, and then that disappears. I just pop this back into eco mode. Okay, so 106 miles, 4 minutes to go on the charging, we're at 92%, so not long, we'll be back on the road again. Michael, hi Michael, what insurance group did the Ioniq fall in, because I've heard electric cars are more expensive? Actually, do you know what, this is actually a company car, so I can't particularly answer that from experience, but from what I read, I think it depends on the insurance company that you go with. You definitely need to shop around, Michael. I was reading last night about somebody who literally got their Nissan Leaf, and their current insurers was taking their premium up by around about 30%, and they'd come out of a really quite low powered, I think it was an Astra, you know, yeah, electric cars are a little bit swifter than internal combustion engine cars, particularly in sport mode. The acceleration on this 0 to 60 is reputedly around about 7.8 seconds. Some people have told me 7.5, and yeah, they're really fun to drive because you're not pausing for any gears, etc. But insurance companies like LV tend to view, because this guy later on was told to go to LV, and sure enough he had, basically insurance companies like LV actually do make the premiums very similar to a similar priced normal internal combustion engine car. So shop around, Michael, is my message to you. As I say, I've no personal experience because this is a company vehicle. I'm very lucky to have this, which is great. Okay, back to this. So distance control, you've got a radar on the front. It's the Hyundai badge actually on the filled out grille, so you need to keep that clean as well. Distance control, you can set your cruise. That clunk you've just heard is us finishing charging. Set your cruise control, and basically this alters your distance. Okay, and you toggle through. You've got 4 distance settings. 4, it feels like you're about half a mile away from the vehicle in front. 3, 2 and 1 sort of correspondently cut down in the number of yards between you and the vehicle. To turn off any mode that you've selected, cruise or limit, you can press that, and then you can resume by going up. Okay, and then you go into the different menus, which are very accessible when you're sat charging. So it might go back to the charging screen, but there you've got the 4.1 miles per kilowatt we're saying about, and underneath there's a power bar there. It tells you how many miles per kilowatt you're getting as a live status. Got a compass. If I've got the navigation set, it will actually show me the next sort of turn, so that's quite useful. and then you've got your tyre pressure setting, and you've got user settings for driving assists, doors, whether they lock or not. Oh, it doesn't want me to use that. There we go. Let's go back to that. There we go. So door settings, lights. So sound, let's just click in that. So you've got park assist system, sound reversing sensors. Lights, you've got your one touch turn signal. You can select whether you want to have it when you just touch the lever, just blink once, blink 3 times, 5, or indeed 7. I think 7's a bit excessive, so I stick with 5. Personal choice, obviously. What we're on there. Headlamp delay, so yeah, get the headlamps to stay on a little bit after you've walked away. Welcome lights. There's lights in the door handles as you approach the car, so they're great. Convenience, yeah, seat easy access. That's an interesting one. Bit of a novelty, this. I'm sure some people love it. I don't tend to use it. What it does is when you turn the engine off, turn the motor off, it will and take your seat off. It will withdraw the seat backwards from the steering wheel, so it's supposedly easier to get in and out. Likewise, when you get in, put your seatbelt on, turn the motor on, it will push your seat forward into your driving position. What have I got here? Wireless charging system, so you can turn the QI on and off. So yeah, loads of different options. Okay. Far too many to go through at the moment. Service interval, I'm due a service at the moment, as you can see there. Oops. Okay, so let's unplug and get back on the road. So bear with me, the camera's going to go all over the place whilst I unplug us here, so we're going to turn off. That's the Hyundai badge, that's the radar at the front. Now, that's locked in, interestingly, even though we finished the charge. So, if it ever locks in, it can do this sometimes. Best thing to do is just unlock, press the unlock button on the car again. Putting the covers back on, the charging holes here. You do the bottom one first, it won't work if you do the top one first, it won't stick in. Again, let's just clean some of the crap out of here so I know I can access the charging port. So, locking and unlocking the car, you have a button on the side, so you've got keyless entry. Oh. Okay, might be a slight pause in recording when I turn the car back on. Apologies for that. It'll be because the car will want me to use Apple CarPlay. So bear with me with the pause. Be back in just a moment, no doubt. Fucking chime, haven't you? It's like turning the computer on. There we go, we're back. Yeah, it's like turning the computer on. So 94%. I have 107 miles on the gum. I've 97 miles to go, so I have got 10 miles spare. Now, what I was saying earlier was that you can, after rapid charging, particularly when you've rapid charged with the heat on, like I have here, you can, in the first sort of 20 miles or so, I've noticed that actually your first 20 miles probably only cost you 10 miles off your gum. So yeah, 97 miles to go, 107 miles
So I will have 10 miles spare when we get there. Let's see. Lights back on. Red fog light back on. And now going onto a busier road with no pedestrians, basically. Yeah, I'm turning the vehicle synthesis sound off as well. It's not my favourite. It's a bit of a groan. One of the things you're really spoilt with the ioniq, particularly if you've got a smartphone tethered to it as well, is that actually you've got different sat navs you can use. The ioniq in the UK uses a TomTom based sat nav, and what I tend to find with that is it tends to be a little bit distracted. It picks up on the slightest of traffic delays and actually tries to redirect you, when actually in an electric car, because you know what your range is, you don't want to be going into unknown territory. You want to stick to what you know. You want to know where your next charger is. You don't want to be diverted. So, and I'm struggling to find at the moment, maybe it's me, the option to turn off that sort of diversion suggestion all the while. And it might well do it today. It may well chime up and say, hey, do you know what? You could be quicker here if you went 17 miles out of your way. You could save 26 minutes. Yeah, but I might not have 17 miles range, so that's a pretty pointless suggestion. Thank you very much. Oh, the delights of British traffic. How lovely. I'm sure it's worse elsewhere. I'm not moaning much. So the other thing that you can do is, if you connect your smartphone, which I won't show you here because it will stop the recording, is you can use, if you've got an Apple phone, you can use Apple Maps, which not everybody's favourite, Google Maps, and indeed any other third-party map app that actually is compatible with CarPlay, because you have got Apple CarPlay. You've also got Android version of CarPlay as well. Which I'm not familiar with, but basically with Apple CarPlay, and I'm sure with Google Maps, it gives you access to Waze. Now Waze is, I think, pretty good. It is based on Google Maps. It's owned by Google Maps, and what I'm starting to see with Google Maps is that they're actually getting the traits of Waze as well, in that now we're getting like a few more three-dimensional buildings on it. We're also getting train station information and stuff like that in the latest update, but also speed camera warnings, which is something you don't get with Apple Maps, and that is really good. Hi Andrew, Waze is the best. Do you know what? I'm a beta tester for Waze as well, and I sort of like. I like Waze, yeah, absolutely. I like Waze when I used it completely independently, just on my phone and not necessarily through CarPlay. I find it a bit different on CarPlay. What I find is, like, there used to be an option, I'm presuming it's still there on just purely the phone version, that actually allowed you to report a closed road. And with the beta test version, that option wasn't there, and I actually did come across sadly an accident and a closed road, and I wanted to sort of let everybody else on the Waze system sort of know that there was a closed road there. There was no option to do it through Apple CarPlay, which, yeah, it's a bit disappointed with, but yeah, it's like everything, to each their own. It's like, I love the ioniq, other people will love their Leafs, and you know, it's everybody likes things differently, don't they? But yeah, I really do like Waze. It's a tough choice sometimes between Waze and Google Maps for me. I do like the in-car sat-nav as well, although it can be annoying if it keeps suggesting diversions, and that's when I turn it off and go to Google Maps, to be honest. But the bit I really like about the in-car sat-nav is on your dashboard above the GOM, which I can't quite show you at the moment because obviously I'm driving, even though it's only a very low speed. You've got a display which shows you like the finishing flag at a Grand Prix. So you got a checkered flag and above the GOM, and it shows you the distance you've got to complete your journey, and then you've got the GOM directly underneath. So you're not taking your eyes off the speedometer section of the display to actually, you know, tell you how far you've got to go, and also for you to do that mental calculation of what spare capacity range wise you've got as well. So yeah, I find that really useful indeed. So yeah, what have we got here? Michael, yeah, what is the best map for charge points if you're doing a long journey? Well, built into the ioniq sat nav is actually data about charge points, but that data about charge points is severely out of date. We don't get over the air updates with the ioniq, and the updates that they do bring when you take your car in for a service, they're every sort of 18 months or so that they put them in, and they're usually about improving, or have been to date, improving battery performance, and not necessarily anything sort of substantial within the car, systems in the car, I understand. So they're very much sort of behind the scenes software updates. So the internal sort of charge point maps, if you like, basically you access by pressing the EV button, and it will then give you the option of finding on the left hand side when you're looking at the EV display. It'll give you the option of finding different chargers. I'll just try that out and make sure I'm not, no, sorry, it's the middle of 3 windows when you press the EV button. I'm just going to try and show you this since we're absolutely crawling. So I've pressed the EV button. There we go. And we got 1.4 miles to the nearest charger, but obviously we haven't gone 1.4 miles since the last charger. So you press that, or search for it, and it gives you a range of options. Now that mPower one definitely is there, yeah, and when you click on it, it will then give you its location. You want the information, you want to see what type of charger it is, and that's where, to us mere mortals, we might look at it and go, what's a Menekes? What's a Type 2 combo? I know I can't use CHAdeMO, so hence it's only white. But you got Type 2 Menekes, that's your standard Type 2 cable, that's 7 kilowatt an hour generally, unless you're in a Renault Zoe, or possibly a Tesla as well. And your Type 2 combo is what you're looking for. Those are your CCS chargers, like we've just been using, but it doesn't show you the latest charger there, obviously. So what I tend to do is, because I'm a bit of a skinflint, Michael, is I tend to look at the free chargers, where the free chargers generally are supplied at the moment by PodPoint, through partnerships with various supermarkets. So I use the PodPoint app, and I go on the Facebook groups, because if there's new PodPoint chargers going in, like that one I've just been to there, and they're not on the PodPoint system yet, then the only way you find out about them is actually by social media, sadly, until PodPoint do their map update and get it onto their system. Another great app you can use is PlugShare. That's really good, and if you do use PlugShare, again, this is all in the planning stage of your journey. It's not live while you're driving. That's important to know. You need to look at where the chargers are on your journey before you start off, because it's not a live system, unlike what you have in a Tesla. And again, that's a really good advantage of a Tesla. I wish that PlugShare and ZapMap, which is another one, were actually CarPlay compatible, but they're not. It would make perfect sense if they were, and they're not, which is a real shame. So the only other option you've really got left to you is to open Google Maps, and say find the nearest charge point. And if you say, press your voice control, open Google Maps, find your nearest charge point, and that will actually open up that display, which will do the job perfectly. Only thing with that is that's not always up to date either. So, Michael, I would plan ahead, research a little bit on social media on your journey. If you go on the Facebook groups, UK electric car owners, or the one specific to the ioniq, there's a Hyundai ioniq electric Facebook group which I'm a member of, and you put on there, I'm travelling to Bristol tomorrow from Liverpool. Then basically somebody will go on ZapMap and they'll plan you a route, or they'll go on PlugShare and plan you a route. So very, very good sociable group, very, very helpful, and they're great. When I can't use the pod point chargers, I actually will go on to Polar chargers, which they've just become BP Charge Master Polar, and I pay a subscription for that. It's £7.85 a month. Again, like I said to you earlier, it is a company car, therefore that's something that the company picks up the tab for. And basically I've got an RFID card and I use those. They're situated at lots of hotels along your routes, along motorways and in towns and cities. And I think you're usually not more than, if you're sticking to the main routes, you're usually not more than sort of 10 mile really from a Polar charger at particularly any point in England. Scotland, that's a little bit different, but Scotland has the Charge Place Scotland programme, which that has been supplying free chargers for a very long time, although sadly the funding for those free chargers is now running out, which we can only expect really. That it's not a bottomless pit of money that the government's had for helping people adopt electric cars. And those Charge Place Scotland chargers, if you're travelling from England, you can initiate those using your Polar card. That seems to be like the main sort of standard card, and you can basically get those chargers working from there. And if they're still on free vend, then you won't be charged for them. What I would say though is with Polar is that they're now rolling out a lot of their chargers with card readers, so that you can basically use your debit card, some credit cards I believe, but not always, but debit cards definitely. Some work with Apple Pay off your phone or your watch, but again, not all of them, and they can be a bit temperamental at the moment from what I'm reading on social media. So yeah, that's another way that you can initiate a charge, and you don't pay a subscription if you do it that way, but you do pay a higher rate for the electricity. If you use the subscription, you're only paying, including VAT, VAT in this country, you're paying 10.8 pence per kilowatt at this present moment. So yeah, oh good, looks like we're on the edge of getting onto a motorway at last. So an update with that crawling, my miles per kilowatt hour has gone down from 4.1 to 3.9. The GOM is showing 105 and I've got 95 miles to travel. So I've still got that 10-mile safety margin. So we're running on a very foggy day. Fog light back on. -3 currently outside. And the heat is still on in the car, 21 degrees. I'm not a fan of running with the heat off. I do not like driving with misted up windows. I've tried it. Everybody tries it when they get an EV. Got to save your battery. Don't do it. Keep warm. Don't do it. Keep warm, and because of the vents underneath the rear seat in the ioniq, you're keeping your battery warm as well. So you're not just keeping yourself warm. The other thing I found is there is a driver's only button which just heats you, but the problem with that is the air's still circulating in the cabin, so actually the heating works just as hard, if not harder in fact, to get you warm, because hot air rises, you know, cold air is circulating around the cabin. Don't do it. Just run it like you would do a normal car. Just a bit of interest there. Just saying about the map application that's actually built into the car. It just popped up with a message saying you can save, believe it or not, 3 minutes by taking this diversion, and it was 6 miles out of my way. So you imagine I've got a 10-mile safety margin, as I call it, 10 miles to spare. Why would I go 6 miles out of my way to save 3 minutes? No, thank you. And that'll pop up again, unfortunately. Michael, I hope that charging and map information was useful. Thank you for saying it was helpful. What I would say is the more you do it, and you know, I think long range journeys, I mean, I tend to do the same longer range journey most days. Excuse me. You grow to know where all the chargers are, and actually, do you know what? It's quite fun finding a different charger that's on the map app, and actually just checking it out and just using that and seeing whether that has an impact on your journey. I think the blinker stalk on the lorry in front of me isn't working. Although I know he was having problems with this Walker's Crisp lorry in front. Yes, I said Walker's Crisp. We're not sponsored by Walker's Crisp, but if anybody from Walker's Crisp is watching, yes please, cheese and onion. That'd be nice. So, you know, it's not popped up again, I'm glad to say, on the map saying I can save 3 minutes by going 6 miles out of my way, but you know, that's all good. So this is quite an uphill section. What you notice with the ioniq is very like every electric car, because you're carrying I think in the ioniq you're carrying 1,600 kilograms plus your own weight, of course, up a hill. It has, just like in an internal combustion car, it has an effect on the consumption. So at this precise moment, we're about to hopefully ride over the top of the hill. That Porsche is nice, by the way, in the outside lane. I like the rear light across the back like that, it's good. At the moment we're doing 3.6 miles per kilowatt hour, so that's decreased. So as the miles per kilowatt hour decreases, like interpret this as your miles per gallon if you're driving a conventional car, you would expect the range on the gasometer to decrease. Remember, I have a safety margin of 10 miles. It actually hasn't, it doesn't, and I think this is the after effect of the rapid charging. The battery's nice and warm. I'm keeping the heat warm, as I say, for myself as well as the battery, and we're all good. We're all good. I do find consumption goes up if You know, the best place for driving the Ioniq is around about 60 miles an hour on the speedometer, which is probably around about 56 actual speed. And that gives you a good balance between speed and distance covered, and the maximising the battery. That bar, which is underneath the miles per kilowatt hour, you want to try and keep that as far over to the right as possible. So when you're going downhill, easing off and letting it freewheel, coast, which you can do by setting the regen on the paddles to 0. It's great. The only thing I would say is if somebody suddenly brakes on you, don't expect to just take your foot off the accelerator. You will get used to driving with regen so quickly that if you do coast and then somebody has an event in front of you and you need to slow down rapidly, you'll just take your foot off the accelerator and you won't slow down. And if you're going downhill, actually you might even speed up. So what I tend to do is drive with the regen on level 3 all the time, unless there is a good safe distance in front of me and I'm going down a nice hill. That's the only time I put it on regen 0, really. You will see loads of videos of people saying, no, you can really get the most mileage out of it by coasting. It's a matter of personal opinion, but I've tried both, and yeah, stick with the regen on because it gives me the peace of mind of if something goes wrong in front of me, as soon as my foot's off the accelerator, before my foot's on the brake, the car's slowing down. I like that. I have to say, if Andrew's still watching, Andrew, I'm looking forward to getting to Nottingham because this fog's not nice. So it looks like it's starting to clear a little bit. Yeah, so what's the best speed, 60 or 70? Martin's asking now. Yeah, personally, I find going along at 60, actually, I wind that back a little bit. Driving an internal combustion engine car, I used to have a Fiat 500X, in fact I've still got it, for various reasons. And basically it's a 1.6 diesel. That supposedly will get 55 to the gallon. I used to get 60 or 70 to the gallon out of it, depending on traffic conditions, by doing 56 miles an hour religiously. So I think I'm a reasonably economic driver if I can do that. With an electric car, what I tend to find is you need to use, you're pushing around 1.8 metric ton, including passengers, yourself, etc. You need to use the momentum of hills and you need to use the momentum of speed. So for instance, now we're doing 70 in the outside lane, there's obviously people who still want to do 80 and 90 even though it's foggy, so we'll get out of those way. And what I find is if you're doing 70, you're definitely consuming more power. So at the moment I'm sitting at 70, mixture of uphill, downhill, level, and that bar is showing me beneath the miles per kilowatt hour, it's showing me it's returning about 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour. Now I'm more on the level, we'll just ease back to 60. We'll get to a cruise at 60 as well. But I'll stick cruise control on. And all the time I'm slowing to 60 from 70. I'm doing it very gradually. That bar's showing me now at like 8 miles per kilowatt hour. That'd be nice as an average. So, right, so we'll set the cruise control 60 mile an hour. Again, I'll just watch the bar underneath the miles per kilowatt hour, and it's sitting nicely. Go slightly uphill now. It's sitting nicely at about 3.7, 4. Yeah, 4 miles per kilowatt hour on the flat. So when you've got that little comfort zone of 10 miles like I've got, Definitely, I would much rather just do a nice 60. I think the other thing I'd say, Martin, is that I'm not one of these fast drivers that likes to best down the outside lane of the motorway. I value my licence too much. I drive like 40,000 miles a year for work. If I wasn't able to do that, I wouldn't have a job. So that's why I tend to. So I don't even really get up to 70. Because I think you're in the outside lane doing 70, or even the middle lane doing 70. You're in everybody else's way. You don't really care, and they're quite happy doing 80 or 90. Efficiency-wise, though, sorry, long answer to a simple question. Yeah, 60's cool. It's the best sort of range, but yeah, provoking miles per hour, I have to say. But then, equally, going along with the flow of the traffic is also very useful. So you've seen as we left the rapid charger that we actually were stuck in a bit of traffic, average speed dropped down, quite a bit of a hill, miles per kilowatt hour dropped. I think it was 3.5, now 3.7 miles per kilowatt hour. Now the GOM and the distance to go, and I've not reset the route at all as we've been going along, despite the fact I could shave 3 minutes. GOM is now showing 96 miles range, and I've got 83 miles to go. So I've picked up 3 miles in that short bit of distance, even though the miles per kilowatt hour went down, and the terrain was sort of quite uphill. And I was doing 70 at one point where I could. So yeah, so we'll see how that goes a bit further. I'm going to try and get back down to 60 again. God, it was a keen frost. If you look to the left-hand side here, everything's pretty white still. So, outside temperature's -4. Percentage on the battery. Just press the EV button. Here we go. 83%. So we've used 11% to go. Now 15 miles. So yeah, we're getting a slightly better after rapid charging. We're getting a slightly better miles for each percent. I think it was about 1.1. It's probably need somebody out there with a calculator to work that out. Can't work it out while I'm driving. But yeah, all good. So guys, I'm quite interested if you watch videos on other electric cars. Be interested to know whose other channels you actually watch. I will constantly refer to Bjorn Nyland, Tesla Bjorn. I think his videos are excellent, really informative, good character. And he's not afraid, I notice, particularly if you see the latest videos he's done on the Audi e-tron, to actually say, I don't like that. He was showing the charging port location on the e-tron, which is just behind the front, for us in the UK, the front passenger side wheel arch. And the distance on some of these chargers that the cables will actually go, it's quite short, particularly on, he shows the tritium chargers in Norway. They're the same chargers that are at the Instavolt locations. They're great chargers, by the way. They charge very rapidly, it basically, that's really not a good place, in my opinion, and his, for the cable to go, because the cable's just going to rub on the, he calls it the front fender, let's call it what it is, it's the front bumper for us Brits. I think it's a lovely looking car if you like Audis. I don't know how many of you agree with this, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. Do you think car manufacturers are actually making electric cars over complex? I showed my wife the video of the car because she likes a nice, decent size 4x4, and showing the what he was showing with the control systems and everything. I know it's got some good voice activation, but it just seems over complex to me. I mean, I think the Hyundai is complex enough, but I don't know. I mean, I've had a drive in the Jag I-Pace, and whilst there wasn't an awful lot of time to get familiar with the different screens, it really was. I just think somebody sitting in Audi and Jaguar, and they're going, electric cars, they're actually cheaper to produce than an internal combustion engine car. And you literally just plug it in, unplug it, and go. How do we make this more complex so that people actually feel they're getting an increased sense of value for money? Do you know what? I think people would pay for simplicity. Again, that's what I love about the ioniq, and sorry, I mentioned the T word again, Teslas, because they are just so simple. So yeah, I wonder if that's happening. Let me know what you think. Andrew's just saying about he's just done a test in minus 17 degrees Celsius. Yeah. Glad it's not that cold here. Coldest temperature I've ever known here was one day up in Harrogate quite a few years ago. And the outside temperature was minus 13, and I think the wind chill made it minus 26 or something ridiculous. So yeah, but that's back in the days when I didn't have a car. I was poor then, worked for the NHS then, couldn't afford a car. So I would walk to work in that. So a couple of miles. It was good for the lungs, I'm sure. Minus 17, yeah. I tell you what, I really love his videos and point of view of seeing his road trips, because Norway is just so beautiful. So yeah, I've even said to my wife previously, as I get older and I end up in a care home and not being able to control myself, the best ways to calm me down will be to stick one of his videos on a big screen TV in front of me and let me watch that, because the road trips that he's done, including with the ioniq, the 2 winter road test trips that he's done, are absolutely brilliant. So Andrew's saying about the Kona and the winter range and slow charging in the cold. Yeah, Wintergate, it's been labelled as. Yeah. The Kona's got liquid cooling, and also the e-Niro has got liquid cooling as well, same as the Kona. And I wonder whether they've actually shielded that from atmospheric influences from the cold, whether they've got that balance right, because it does seem to be slowing it down. The other thing I noticed is it's got a winter mode, and it says it's to protect the battery, but it protects the battery by limiting the charging speed. I believe I've seen on one of the videos, I think there's a guy here in Britain whose name I think is Stuart. I think he does a show called EV Puzzle. Again, they're very good. And he basically, his Kona as well, he's shown about that. And I wonder whether it's actually worth selecting winter mode, particularly in a British winter, I have to say, because it's rare. Rare. I've cursed it now, haven't I? It's rare we get temperatures like this at this time of day. I don't know. But I do think that this is one area where the ioniq has a distinct advantage over the Kona, because it is slowing the charging speed. The ioniq, because it's drawing the cabin temperature, and it's not purely influenced by the outside temperature. I've not looked in the Kona to see if there's ventilation between the cabin and the battery chamber. that would be very interesting to see whether that actually exists or not. If anybody's got a Kona out there and they can have a look and let us know, that'd be really good. But I just think, dare I say it? Yeah, I'm going to say it. I mean, I love the Kona, and I love the fact that it will do that range at that price. I don't love the boot on it. I don't love the rear seat space. I do like the control system in it because it's exactly the same pretty much as the Ioniq, with one or two tweaks that I would say are improvements, in that the dashboard shows you the speed that the charger is going at. But I don't like the winter sort of charging speed things that I'm seeing with Wintergate. And I do wonder whether actually the Ioniq's got it right. Because especially when you look at the performance test, I know Tesla Bjorn is sort of embargoed from saying about the sort of miles, well, not miles per kilowatt hour, he's mentioned that, but he's saying that he's embargoed from comparing it to other cars, although he has done. But he's done a direct comparison between a Tesla Model X and the Jag I-Pace and the Audi e-tron. And yeah, the e-tron, for what I can work out with my maths, is doing about 2 miles per kilowatt hour. I'll update you on what we're doing here in a moment. But basically, 2 miles? I've never seen 2 miles per kilowatt hour in an Ioniq. Even like putting it straight in sport mode and resetting it and basically flooring it to 70. As soon as you get to 70 and it starts to cruise at 70, you're cruising at about 3.2, 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour in, average British driving conditions. Oh look, the fog's going. Hooray! Sunshine, let's clear the windscreen a bit. Let's turn the rear fog light off as well. So I've not seen that. Yeah. I don't see the logic of carrying a huge amount of weight around that is, just basically supposedly to give you longer range, whereas in fact what you're doing is depleting the efficiency. I think the other side of it is, as free chargers in the UK are getting less and less, the other thing you've got to work out is that if I charge up with 8 kilowatt of battery left, so I charge up 20 kilowatt, sure, that's going to cost the same as an e-tron charging with 8 kilowatt left. With 20 kilowatt. But if they charge up with 8 kilowatt left, they're charging up 82 kilowatt compared to my 20. Sorry, not 8. Yeah, 82 kilowatt compared to my 20. My 20 will go arguably a similar length of time or slightly lower, depending on the charging speed of the charger the Audi's plugged into, because the Audi charges incredibly fast and very, very efficiently, which is really good to see. And that charge, though, at 30 pence is going to cost me £6. 82 30 pence kilowatt, that's going to cost about £25. And he's going to go another 75 miles in winter compared to the Ioniq for £19. And that's where the logic of the bigger battery sort of falls down for me. So, okay, so let's just catch up with the statements on the feed here. Let's have a look. So, can't wait for the new Ioniq with the bigger battery. Yeah, I agree. The Ioniq aerodynamically is the same efficiency as the Model S, and put a bigger battery in this, and I think this will be maybe arguably already is compared to the Model 3, the notorious Tesla killer, although I don't really like that phrase, because, you know what, I think there's room for everybody to have a choice and pay their money for what they want. It's rumoured, I think it's 38, 39, maybe 40 kilowatt battery it's going in. Saying earlier on the video, which I know was a long time ago, that actually if you look at the floor pan, the ioniq actually shares that with the Kia Soul electric. And if you look at the new Kia Soul electric, which is not coming out this year but coming out next year, although they've already announced it, the Kia Soul electric will have a 64 kilowatt hour battery. Sorry, kilowatt battery, not kilowatt hour. So as far as I understand, by the way, folks, kilowatt is like the size, as in like gallon. Kilowatt hour refers to the power. Okay, so that is actually being delivered. So we're looking at, and I know somebody will correct that because I'm sure I've messed that up, but there you go. Hey, feel free. Leave it in the comments. So I do think that the ioniq will come with a 64 kilowatt battery. All the rumours are it's the 38 that's also in the Kona, but if you can fit it in the Kona, you can fit it in the ioniq. And will there be a demand for it? Yeah, absolutely, because the ioniq has the comfort factor that you need to be able to just munch the miles. You know, wrong way around, Oliver tells me. Okay, kilowatt is power. Keep going, Oliver. I love the fact how interactive you guys are. I really, really like this. It's like I'm able to have a conversation on my way to work. It's brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, and kilowatt hour equals energy or tank capacity. Okay, cheers. Thanks, Oliver. I'll try and remember that. So I appreciate that. Cheers. When's the new ioniq due? Yeah, I've seen somebody's put it'll be due at the end of the year. It needs to be shown at the facelift has already been shown for the plug-in hybrid and the conventional hybrid. Not seen the facelift yet for the electric, although I did put a picture on the Hyundai ioniq electric Facebook page of a camouflaged, masked up ioniq electric next generation, and what it looks like is they've got rid of the big mass of plastic which is the bumper where the grille would sit, and let's just stick speed limit on here for 60, and instead what they've got there is a slightly smaller Hyundai badge and then two what looks like silver plastic winglets coming out the side of it. But when I say winglets, it's not like the Fiat winglet that's a spindly bit of chrome. It still looks like silver plastic, and it looks sort of more like a lozenge at the side of the Hyundai badge. I'm not too sure I like that, or whether I like what we've got now. I do like what we've got now, although I wish it wasn't silver. I think black would look nicer, or indeed, although silver makes it stand out and you definitely notice an EV, or indeed, I've seen where some people have put, as I said in my video yesterday, no, not yesterday, day before, some people have actually put like a protective film, coloured protective film, over that silver part. And one I saw was actually the same chrome colour as the dash inserts and the rings around the LED headlights as well. And that looked really effective, especially on a white car. I've also seen one that's used chrome film, and that's on a black car, and that looks quite space age. I like that, very much like that. Yeah, September, somebody's heard, yeah, Michael's heard it will be out. I think we'll start to see images of it in September. I think if we're going to see it come out in September, that would be fantastic. There's a big backlog on batteries for the Kona at the moment. If you ordered a Kona now, you're looking at a 52-week, 1 year wait apparently. On the current ioniq, I've been told that it's around about 30 weeks, although you can be very lucky like I was. And if a garage has got a demonstrator on order, some garages, and the garage that did this for me was a garage called Cars 2 in Wakefield. Big shout out to them, so they were very good. There's a guy there called Scott Rafferty who dealt with me, and he was brilliant. No hard sell or anything like that. Really good guy, very knowledgeable. Long test drive as long as I wanted. And yeah, good guy. So I'd recommend Cars 2, by the way. And no, I'm not in commission. I should be. I agree. You know, that's. I think, you know, the delay on the Kona is going to have an impact, possibly, on batteries then coming for the electric ioniq, particularly if the ioniq does go 64 kilowatt. I wouldn't be surprised if Hyundai don't actually do the 38. They're not selling the 38 in the Kona in America. I know a few people have bought them in the UK and Europe, but price difference, really? I don't think it's that bad. Sorry, I needed a slurp of coffee then. So Michael's come back again. I think it will have a floating entertainment centre. Yeah, the internal shots. Again, you'll see this on the Hyundai ioniq Facebook group. And the electric group as well. I believe it's been posted on there. There's some images there of the console. It reminds me very much of the Prius Plus, if any of you have been inside one of those, and also the goldfish face version of the Prius, the new Prius. The screen, infotainment screen, is bigger. Currently we have I believe it's an 8.1 inch infotainment screen. I believe it's going to 10.3, which that'll be nice. It'll still be landscaping orientation, so no Tesla portrait orientation. So yeah, that I think will be good to have a bigger screen. The thing I really want to see, maybe it's because I'm a bit of a nerd with electric cars, is I really want to see when you plug your car in just how much juice it's actually getting from the charger. Yeah, the Kona is showing that, the e-Niro shows that, the Audi's showing that really well, which is really good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. The ioniq at this present configuration reputedly can charge at 7 kilowatts per hour on a 70 kilowatt per hour. I told you I need more coffee. I've got coffee here. I should drink it, but I'm too busy gassing. Maybe I'll shut up. It's probably a good idea. Probably give you guys a rest as well. Yeah, it'll charge at 70 kilowatt per hour. There is a charger near me in Brighouse that will apparently do, I think it's 150 kilowatt per hour. I need to go there. Might have an opportunity to actually go there next week if things fall into line. I'm just a little not certain of that just at the moment, but that's possible. And then I'd be interested to see the charging speed. Yeah, because obviously although I won't see the actual charging speed on the car. I'm hoping the charger will show it, as some chargers do. Instavolts do. Sadly, pod points don't, like the ABB chargers. I'm sure you could work it out, but my maths isn't that good. So yeah, so hopefully everything will fall into place next week, and I'll have a play around with that charger. So, I don't know if you guys if any of you guys are in Yorkshire, you may know this company, but it's a very small company just sort of starting out. It's called Alpha Power. They've started with some chargers, which I've done a video on the YouTube channel with a guy called James Fairchild, very nice bloke, who he and I rocked up, him with his Nissan Leaf, me with my ioniq, and basically, unlike most chargers that have come out so far, you can actually use CCS. Sorry for the high contrast, but this is what I'm looking at, by the way. You can use CCS and you can use CHAdeMO at the same time. These chargers are, again, they're also rated that they could actually deliver a much higher current than what they are. They're only delivering 40 kilowatt at the moment. And the reason for that is because of local charging infrastructure. So they need to actually put better cables in the locality, and the charger's capable of doing it, but not the power supplying it. The grid supplying it isn't capable. So basically, a 40 kilowatt charger, and you can charge two cars side by side, a CHAdeMO and a CCS. The only thing is, when you both plug in, your 40 kilowatt charge slows down to 20 each. So, not great. And can you imagine if you're there and you're in a rush, you're grabbing your 40 kilowatt an hour and somebody else turns up, plugs in, you're going to be a little annoyed. All of a sudden, your 20 minutes of charging's turned into 40. Let's see. So yeah, so with a high contrast, it's making it a little bit difficult for me to see what you're writing on the screen, folks. But I'll do my best. So for Michael, hopefully the charging network will get better. I completely agree, because Preston, there's not so many. Yeah, Tesco. That's what I'm going to say to you. Tesco. Yeah, and again, pod point. Now, this won't be the free model that I'm sort of passionate about, because I'm a cheapskate. Tesco's have announced in partnership with Volkswagen, this is Volkswagen's guilt money after Dieselgate, I understand, that basically they're investing in pod point chargers around all of their big stores, and they're also putting, as well as rapids there, they're also putting 7 kilowatt posts as well. Now, pod point themselves, when this announcement and investment came out, have turned around and said that these chargers will charge at a standard, whatever this is, standard price. I've seen it rumoured that that's going to be 25 pence per kilowatt hour. I've also seen 30 pence per kilowatt hour. That's per the ecotricity model. And they're going to keep the 7 kilowatt posts free, which would be great. Because if you charge at home like I do, at weekends mostly, when I'm not doing my longer journeys, and you're on a decent economy tariff like I am, if you want to know about that, by the way, just shout. I can quite easily talk about that. Then basically, whilst you're out having a coffee or out doing your shopping, you know what, plug it in and just topping up, even if it's just topping up the distance that you've travelled to get to the supermarket. is really nice to be able to do. And you can do what I did yesterday. I think the wife might be a bit shy of me filming with her, but it's a shame really, but I may well do this another day. It's basically, we went for a coffee in the morning. I was 100% charged when I started, and when we got there, charge had gone down to 92%. And well, I don't know whether that was picked up on the screen or not, but you can see like ice crystals in the fog here. I don't know if you guys can see this, but that is really quite eerie. And now it's turning into sleet. So yeah, okay. So I thought it was sunny down in Nottinghamshire. Who told me that? That was Andrew. Andrew, I'm in Nottinghamshire. What have you done? It's starting to sleep, man. So yeah. What I was able to do there was I was able to set also the timer. I put it to charge now. Again, go back into the channel. You'll see videos of how to set the timer. That's I think is a pretty decent video of how to do it. But set the timer to charge now, and I set the departure time to 10 o'clock. And when I set when we went for coffee with 9 o'clock, it was a very leisurely coffee. So basically, I had enough time to get to 100%, but also I put it so it would warm the cabin. So we got back into a nice warm car. And you know what? You can't beat that feeling. It really is good. So you need to make it work for you. I will add, I wouldn't be selfish. If somebody else needed to charge, I would absolutely not have done that. But they're actually where I park up at Castleford, place called Escape. We'll go to the Starbucks there. Basically, there's within half a mile there are let's have a count up. There are 5 others, so there are 6 7 kilowatt charging opportunities within half a mile of that locality, and none of the others have been used. So I was quite happy to do that. But if 4 of them had been in use, I would not have done that, because you know what, people need a charge to get somewhere. They don't need a charge just to keep the car warm. It's a bit selfish, really. Yeah, Michael's also mentioning on the feed here about charging at home's all right, but if you've got off-road parking, if you haven't got off-road parking, yeah, you are reliant on the charging posts. I did meet a guy, again, a different pod point, again operated by Lidl, but this one in Bentley in Doncaster, and he lived round the corner, and he would literally go and park up for 4 hours, walk back to his house. And fair play to this guy. What he would actually do is he would look on the app to see whether the charger was being used or not, because the PodPoint app does show you that. And then he would, if it was vacant, he would go, and he'd try and go when nobody else was there. So he'd be there really early doors in the morning, or he'd be there like when people weren't going backwards and forwards to school, or he'd be there, late at night grabbing his charge. So, good for him. I noticed there's something I saw on social media. It was like a curbside box, and the housing for it is made out of old lorry tyres. And that was just announced yesterday. They had a launch event. I'm not 100% sure what it was called, but that looked really intriguing. Andrew, you've let me down, man. Look at this fog. Good Lord. Okay, let's have an update on where we're at. Okay, so I've 52.4 miles to go. 0.3. Could go on with that count, couldn't I? Yeah, but let's call it 52 miles to go. Okay, I have 65 miles on the gum. I'm currently doing 65 on the motorway, so I've got a spare capacity of 13 miles. Remember, we started off from the charger with 10 miles capacity. My current miles per kilowatt hour has now risen back up, and I'm at 4.1. Cabin controls are set to 21 degrees Celsius. Excuse me. I have headlights and fog lights on, so they're draining a little bit of electricity, but that's out of the 12-volt battery. And temperature outside -3. So, yeah, pretty good. So when I get to work, obviously I'm going to have 10, 13, maybe 14, maybe more miles capacity. Obviously I've got this journey to do on the way back tonight. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to be at work probably till about 6, half 6 tonight. There is a 7 kilowatt post there, so I'll plug in there. It'll probably take about 3 hours 50, 4 hours to charge up, so it'll be 100% when I leave tonight. And yeah, I'll probably stop for a rapid charge, probably back at the same Lidl that I stopped at on this journey as well. Yeah, and do that. So that's my routine, and then I just sort of put it on to do a very brief charge overnight. Not necessarily to fill it to 100% all the time, because that's not the best thing for the battery all the time, although the electrics that protect the ioniq are very sophisticated and very good, I understand. But actually, to make sure I can precondition for the next morning. So again, setting the timers, setting the heater timer, that is all in videos elsewhere on my channel. Please feel free to have a look at the channel. Feel free to subscribe, leave comments, like the videos. You know, positive or negative comments are welcome as long as they're decent. You know, let me know if there's other things you want to see. Let me know whether you actually like these road trips or not, because you know what, it could get boring. And maybe I only need to put 1 or 2 on these on. Maybe you don't need 1 or 2 a week. Maybe you want 4 a week, or maybe you want no more. Please, had enough. Shut up. I don't know. Just having a slurp of coffee, folks. One thing that's really your friend, which again is a source of frustration for a lot of motorists, particularly lorry drivers who want to do 56, particularly if they've got foreign plates on, or 60 even, is roadworks. Roadworks are the EV driver's friend. Why? Well, they're our friend because basically everybody else reasonably, usually, unless you're that lorry driver, is travelling at 50 mile an hour, so you're not in anybody's way. Efficiency wise, looking at the instant bar, I'm sort of doing 5.5, nearly 6 miles per kilowatt hour. So this is a great time to sort of, the battery, the motor, to chill out. Everything chills out. It's working very effectively, very efficiently. And this is a time where you also can see now the miles per kilowatt hour increase. So 50 is a good speed, you know. Also traffic wise, you know, if you come to a halt, you're not going to be using fuel burning internal combustion engine to keep warm. You're using exactly the same heat to keep warm as you're using now. So it's no detriment to you. No, traffic is frustrating, but actually roadworks, yeah, it's pretty good for your battery. Pretty good for you. Yeah, Michael's just put a very nice comment. Thank you, Michael. Enjoying the videos, and it's good to see how the car performs with real driving. Yeah. Well, there's nothing cut out. The only thing that will get cut out is if somebody rings me on the phone. and then the video will pause, or indeed if CarPlay decides to take over and stuff. So yeah, that looks like we're coming to a standstill now. Look, we're on cruise control at the moment. It is radar guided, so I'm not actually going to put my foot onto the brake. I'm going to let the cruise control slow us down. So we're still doing 50 at this precise moment. My foot is over the brake in case I need it, and now we're starting to decelerate. So this is purely on the cruise control. There we go, it's heavy braking on its own. And there we go. So that's no brake, no touching the brake. Believe me, if you touch the brake, you won't actually always stop as hard as what the cruise control will stop you. Frog in my throat. Where's that damn coffee? Here it is. Must admit, I love my coffee in the morning. I have I have a couple of these Nespresso machines. I have one of the ones that does the big pods, the Virtuo pods. I fill a travel mug. This is where you've got to watch your cruise control. Somebody moves out of your lane, you're going to pick up speed. And okay, it's picked it up again, but again, it's going to do it with this lorry. You're going to close up, pick up speed a little bit. You also have to just be careful with lorries as well if they've got quite a high deck on them, and particularly if, dare I say, it's an overseas lorry and it doesn't have that bar and tail lights in that sort of position. If they're slightly higher up, it does sort of, mean you might get a bit closer to a lorry than what you want. Please note, this is still a cruise control. I've not got my foot on the accelerator. Oh, Renault Zoe. So that's the other EV that I've seen today. Yeah, so where were we? Yeah, coffee. Yeah, so yeah, I have an espresso Virtuo machine. Do huge pods. I've got a nice travel mug. Keeps my coffee very warm for anything up to 2 hours. Actually, this travel mug, it's really good, and yeah, keeps you alert, keeps you going. As you can see, it's bringing us to a nice halt here as well. Okay, so Oliver, with radar-based cruise control braking, does it panic? It's more a point of I panic, actually. And does it use friction brakes or regen? Okay, so when it first picks up the vehicle in front of you, slowing down, then you're purely using regen. And then, as I've just seen then, and you've just seen then, when we were getting to the back of that car in front of us at the start of this queue, what it then did is it then also applied the friction brake as well to make sure it did stop before we went into the back of that car. The thing with these radar-based cruise controls you've got to be really careful about, though, and as BBC News did a great video using a Tesla on this, is if that car that is if you like, the target car the radar is using, all of a sudden jumps out of the way into lane 2, then the car's going to think, oh great, obstruction's moved, put your foot down, and the car will speed up again. And the problem with that is that the car directly in front of it might not be moving, might actually be going a lot slower. So if you're following a car doing 30 and you decelerate from 70 and you're still doing 30, when that car moves, you'll start speed up again. And that split second of that stationary car in front, is that enough time? So you've still got to keep an eye on what you're doing, and what the car's doing. And yeah, be prepared to stomp on it if you do. I have had an experience with not with cruise control on, but it always is sort of monitoring, almost like the Volvo City Safe system. And notice we've come to a complete halt here now. With the Volvo City Safe system, it's monitoring things in front. So I've had it where, not on cruise control, but just normal driving, that literally It picks up a pedestrian who walks across in front of me. I've seen the pedestrian as well, I have to say, and I've started braking, but that pedestrian then turned round and ran back across at night time in the dark. They were wearing dark clothing as well. The only way you could really see a pedestrian was the light in their face from their mobile phone, because of course they're looking at their mobile phone when they're crossing the road. I think it's obligatory, you have to do that nowadays. And this kid just literally turned around halfway across the crossing, realising he'd basically just walked out in front of me, and ran back. If he'd have just kept going, it wouldn't have been a problem. But the car spotted him, slammed the brakes on. I equally hit the brakes as well, but natural reaction would have it, and stopped brilliantly. I have to say, it stopped really well. Regen braking and friction braking, a lot of people criticise the ioniq for its braking being a little bit sluggish at first. What I would say to you is that it takes a bit of getting used to, because the car does like to slow on the regen, but the brakes are there. They definitely work. They work very, very well, and yeah, you can trust them. Where it feels a bit strange, and you get used to regen, so when you take your foot off the pedal, you start to slow down, and you don't come to a halt overall. It starts to creep along at 7. There's some leaks on that car transporter. It starts to creep along at 7 miles an hour, you know. But where that happens, essentially, if your battery is full, you've got no regen, because when you're pressing the brake pedal, the friction brakes can't put energy in the battery. So you're not going to get any assist from the regen. So you take your foot off the accelerator and you're not slowing down as you would expect. So if you're starting off on 100% battery anytime, bear that in mind, particularly as you're going away from a charger, and you're going to think to yourself, obviously not a rapid charger, because they only charge 94%. But if you're coming off a 7 kilowatt post and you're 100%, the next junction you come at, don't think you can purely rely on slowing down by taking your foot off the accelerator, because it won't happen to the same degree, or if at all. So you'll need your friction brake. When I had this car serviced 10,000 miles ago, and yes, it needs servicing, it basically, the service engineer who gave me the keys back said, "Have you actually used the brakes?" And I'm like, barely, because the regen is so good. You're not looking at changing brake pads and discs unless there's any manufacturing problem with these things, I think. Certainly within probably 100,000 miles. I think that's pretty clear on how efficient it is. Service costs might be something that might be useful to talk about if there's anybody still watching. Yes, there is. Good. First service. You have to watch the Hyundai garages, because at one point you could book your service through the Hyundai website. I don't know whether you can or you can't just yet now again. But basically what that gave the garages was a fixed menu pricing, but the garages didn't pay any attention to that. So if you didn't look on the website, you wouldn't know that you were going to be ripped off. So the first service on the Ioniq Electric, I was quoted by a garage in Coventry, basically £260, which with an electric car, you've got so many fewer moving components. You don't need to do an awful lot. You need to plug it into a diagnostic machine. You need to check the joints and the bearings. You need to check the brakes, which hardly get any use. And you just need to check everything works. It takes about 15 minutes. So £260 was a bit of a markup. In the end, I got it for £76, and that was because, again, Cars 2 in Wakefield, where I bought it from, that's what they quoted me. More convenient for me to get this done in Coventry. So I actually said to them, how can you charge £260 when the garage in Wakefield will actually charge £76? They dropped their price. So happy days. The second service supposed to be a little bit more major. Not quite sure why, but I've been quoted 130 for that, and yeah, that's I think that's reasonable, but I'd be interested to see what the Coventry garage quotes. They'll probably quote me £300 for the second one. Michael's now asking, how does the car cope with slippery roads because you don't have higher gears to assist you? Yeah, good point. So you've got a traction control system. Turn that off at your peril. Eco mode means that because you're accelerating by wire, eco mode means, oh, here we go. So this is a situation where you want your cruise control not to take you down the inside lane here at 60 mile an hour into the back of that flashing truck. So yeah, the no higher gear. So eco mode, when you press the accelerator, you get nice, gradual, almost internal combustion engine like acceleration. So that's great. Normal is spin a bit more readily. Sport mode, if you floor it in sport mode in slightly slippery conditions, you're not going anywhere. Your wheels will spin, but you will not move. I drove it in some quite severe ice just about a week ago, actually, and it was a little bit scary. So as a result of that, I think I've not driven it on packed snow or anything. It was snowing the other night, but that wasn't sticking. But what I have done is, you do see lots of people buy winter tyres. I did price that out. Set of wheels and winter tyres cost me about £800, which that's okay. That's if you got 800 quid. But what I've decided to do, actually, I've bought a pair of Husky snow socks. I don't know if you guys have ever seen these. First time I've seen snow socks in use was up in Scotland a few years ago. And basically you put them over your drive wheels. So with the ioniq, that would be the front wheels. And these things are usually made out of a Kevlar-like material. And they're a bit fluffy. And basically they increase the grip that you have as you're driving along. Not tried them yet because I've not had the weather conditions to do it. Seen some videos of people using them, not with an electric car, not with an ioniq. So I'm going to do some testing of that when we actually do get some decent snow. But I'll need somebody else to help film that with me. And here's my traditional shout, Tesla! You gotta love the Model X. I'm sorry, that's a beautiful shape. Black as well. Yeah, I like the black. I really like the black. I sort of like dark grey as well, and white. Although I've always been of the mind of once you've got a white car, you know, the next car you want, you need to be a different colour, you know. So yeah. So yeah, we'll see how the snow socks work on the ioniq. As I say, when I drove in the ice we had on Friday last week, wasn't greatly pleasant. One thing, actually, a little tip again, this might be useful. Driving back in the snow the other night, Tuesday night. What I did do was I turned the lane keeping assist off. I don't know if the cameras are picking up the snow. Or whatever, but it felt like I was ping-ponging from one line to the other more. And with the lane keeping assist, if you sort of aren't paying attention, it feels like the car is taking the steering wheel out of your hand, and it actually feels like you're going into a skid. It's that sort of sensation, you know, when the steering wheel goes light and the steering wheel moves and you think, oh, hold on a minute, what's going on? So I turned the lane keeping assist off, and that was much, much better. So yeah, lane keeping assist off, traction control on, and the lane keeping assist anyway in snow isn't going to do anything if ever ready. Not got any snow forecast, unfortunately. So yeah, this guy had told me it was sunny in Nottinghamshire. I'm sorry. Definitely not, is it? Uh, Time for another slurp of coffee, and I'll give you an update on where we're at with the GOM. Okay. So the GOM's showing me 56 miles range. And I have 42 miles to travel. So the GOM's now increased to a 14-mile margin. Which I'm comfy with that. I'm not thinking I'm going to stop and get another charge. I'll get to work with that. The one question that sort of goes unanswered is, is every percentage of the battery created evenly? Don't know the answer to that one. I'm pretty confident that the GOM actually telling me I've got 14 miles capacity means I've got 14 miles capacity. What I do find is when I get the latter part of the journey, M6, turn off to Coventry and the A45, that dual carriageway there, the road surface there is quite, it's quite old, and I do find that does just take a bit more power off me. So I'm not thinking that's actually an uneven amount per percentage of the battery. I'm actually thinking that is the road surface that's causing the problem. Actual battery percentage, 49%. It's 4.0. Yeah. So I'll know I've done 50% when I'm at essentially not 44%, but actually as it's that moment where it switches over to 43, because 43 is 43.9, isn't it? So what I tend to do is I look at the energy information, and as I hit 43%, not as I go out at 43%, but as it hits 43%, I say, right, that's 50% done. So we've done 57 miles so far. And then I think to myself, right, that 50%, when's that going to clock up? So we will see. We will see. So we're on the A42 now. Still a bit of fog knocking around. Don't really need my rear fog light, so it's off. More in the distance. Headlight's still on there. One of the things that's really nice is if you adjust something like your headlights or your wipers, you get a pop-up display on the right-hand side of the clock, the speedo, and it tells you what you've done. So you don't have to look at the stalk. It tells you on the dashboard that you've now set the headlights to be on, or side lights, or turn the headlights back to auto, or indeed off. Yeah, I like that. Likewise with the wipers. How many times do you set the wiper and you think, oh, I'm not sure if I'm actually in auto or if I'm actually off? Well, just move it and it'll tell you on the dashboard. You don't have to look at the stalk. Keep your eyes on the road. Yeah, it's really good. Really good. Cup holders are very good, by the way, in the Ioniq. Might seem like a little detail, but I've got my travel flask in one. I've got a can of soda pop in the other. There's no rattles. They've got nice little spring-loaded sort of supports in the cup holder, so nothing's rattling about. So that's good. One thing I'm noticing, guys, is live streaming is absolutely killing my battery on my phone. 28%. And that's because I'm not on the QI charger or not on the other charge port that I showed you under the armrest as well. So you do get quite a low current coming out of the one that's underneath the climate control panel. It's not really keeping pace with the demands I'm putting on the phone. And this is the bit as well where now I'm looking at my energy information for that battery percentage, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, go on, let's see where we are. Let's get to that 43% number, so I can give you guys the figure. And of course, it's not going to happen for a while. Kettle never boils while you watch it, I believe is the saying. Gosh, so we've been recording for 2 hours and 26 minutes. I think Ben Hur wasn't quite this long, or was it? That's probably a bit longer. So if you've stopped with me throughout my whole, or indeed if you have like watched this later on YouTube and you've managed to get this far into the video, well done. I'm impressed. I'm seriously impressed. Seriously, wow. I quite like the streaming. You get people coming and going, and that's cool. It's nice to see like people joining, like somebody else has just joined us then, and maybe somebody who's come back to it, I know. But it's cool. It's good. I love the interaction. You guys with popping your posts up there if you've got questions anytime. Don't mind if it's a question that's been asked before as well. Well, happy to answer it again. It's not an issue. Let's just clean the windscreen off a bit. Sounds like the wipers are a little bit frozen. Those of you who might have missed that earlier tip, round about October time, put neat washer fluid solution in. Do not dilute it. Make sure it'll cope with about minus 10 degrees. Minus 5 doesn't quite cut it. You need something that will go down to minus 10. You can get a solution called Pre-Stone, and they do a hardcore version of that goes down to minus 25. I've used that before. It's very, very good. But if you get a cheaper solution that goes down to minus 10, that's okay for British winters. Sorry, I'd say English winters, because in Scotland last night I think it reached minus 13, so minus 10 wouldn't quite cut it. So right, there we go, 43%. So let's look at what distance we've travelled. So we have gone 62 miles on 50% of the battery. So I think it's quite reasonable to say then that the range at minus 4 is actually 124 miles. So 62 miles at 50%. 124 miles, therefore, when the battery would be fully depleted. I know that they say there's a safety buffer. I've never had the car down to no miles. Not that brave, really. I've never even gone into turtle mode. I'm sure I'll do that one day, just for the hell of it. Average speed has been pretty low. Been some fast bits, but there's been some really slow bits because of the weather and traffic. So average speed is 43 miles an hour. I've done 2 hours and 12 minutes of actual driving from home for 88.4 miles in total. But yeah, since the rapid charger got us up to 94%, that's 62 miles that the car has done. So yeah, I compare that to the +4 temperature test that I did. Again, that's on another video. I did 75 miles for 50%, so we're saying there it's 150 miles range at +4 degrees Celsius. So yeah, pretty good. This is the bit of the motorway where generally I tend to think to myself, you know what, I think I might have a bit more fun here, because usually I've got 30 miles to go and I've got good weather, I've got probably 60 miles range, so yeah, sport mode comes out. But just got to be a little bit more mindful, because obviously I want to make sure I go to work. And the last bit of my journey on the A45 is 60 mile an hour dual carriageway. I don't fancy turtling down that, so yeah, I'm just keeping it steady. So we're currently showing 4.2 miles per kilowatt hour as the average consumption. 45 on the gum, 32 to go, so 13 capacity. When we left the Rapid, we had 10 spare capacity. So yeah, we've gained 3, which I think in these temperatures, just starting to warm up now. As we get further south, it's now 0. But when we were at the charger, it's like -5, and then mine's just gradually has increased. Yeah, it's been a pretty good test, I would hope. I stopped at an eco-tricity charger at Nottingham on the way back on Tuesday night, mainly for a comfort break, but charger was vacant, so I plugged in, and just as I was leaving my car, a Nissan Leaf turned up, brand new one, so 2.0, I think it was, 40 kilowatt. It was a Vizia actually, so no sat-nav infotainment system on it. Very nice. Been driven by a lady, very friendly lady, I have to say, very nice woman. Very passionate about her Leaf and the money she was saving. And she was asking, she hadn't seen an ioniq electric before, and she was like, so, you know, how far can you go? You know, all the usual questions we ask each other. She raised her eyebrows when I said I could get 120 miles range, winter conditions, and you know, even 150 at +4. I'm glad I've been able to prove it here that yeah, you can actually get 124 at -4. So pretty cool. The other thing I noticed about doing the live streams is that I think I'm delaying some people from listening to Ken Bruce. Somebody said the other day, I could get back to Ken Bruce now, thanks. Who'd have thought it? Plug-in hybrids. I think if you're going to go plug-in hybrid, you might as well just stick with a conventional engine car. Sure, they're a little bit better, but it's nothing compared to the adventure of actually driving pure electric. And I do use the word adventure. This is fun, you know. I've driven over 2 hours. I'm going to work. I'm having fun. There's the challenge of keeping the economy where it needs to be to make sure I get there. Well, there's loads of charges I could go to on the way, but I don't really want to charge up again. It's comfortable to drive. People are interested in it, hence you guys are watching, which is great. People watch the videos all the time. I was amazed that the live stream videos I did on Tuesday, actually in the last 48 hours, they'll just be coming up to 48 hours. Somebody's watching those videos 26 hours out of 48. Bizarre. You never think anybody's going to be interested enough to watch these things, you know. So, Oliver, hi Oliver again. Do you need a pocket full of access cards? Memberships. Well, PodPoint with the free chargers, that, as I say, I'm a cheapskate. It's an app, so you don't need an RFID card for them. So I have plenty of apps. PlugShare and ZapMap are just location. They're not charging apps as such, but they're really good to have. Polar is an app, but it's an app in that it tells you where their chargers are, and you basically get an RFID card when you sign up. You get 3 months free membership, and then it's £7.85 a month, and then 10.8 pence per kilowatt. And I use those because they're the most evenly distributed sort of chargers around, other than the ecotricity ones. And if you've got an ioniq, or you're getting any car with CCS charging on it rather than CHAdeMO, the ecotricity chargers really are not particularly of any consistent benefit to you because of their problems and the fact that they do break down more often than not, which is a real shame because they're all on the motorway system. They are 30 pence a kilowatt hour, but a kilowatt rather. But yeah, Instavolt, that uses the chip in your card, as in your debit card, credit card, to activate those. They're 35 pence per kilowatt at this time, and they were on free vend, and they were brilliant. They charge really rapidly. You could see it was delivering 48 kilowatt per hour, which was great, because their displays actually show you what they're delivering. So yeah, I stick with the Polar app, and the RFID card that you have to have, and I stick with PodPoints. It depends on your location, really. The good thing with the Polar card is that it will also activate the CYC, which stands for Charge Your Car, chargers as well, and they'll also activate the Charge Place Scotland chargers as well. So I do like the Polar card. The membership £7.85. If you go to OVO Energy, you actually get 2 years free membership, so you don't get the monthly subscription. But with my charging, bear in mind I go from Yorkshire to Coventry 4 days a week, and I drive down to Hastings probably once a month and then back again. My charging with Polar is about £10 plus a £7.85 subscription. So yeah, it probably does work out. Well, I did work it out. It works out at about 17 pence per kilowatt for that frequency of charging. But compare that, to what you'd be spending on fuel. It's still much more economic. And yeah, like I say, if you're a skinflint, find the free chargers and make the most of them. I think when you start off, and I do have loads of charging cards. I've got the the Smooth, spelled SMOOV, maybe another O in there actually, RFID card as well. That enables the chargers that are popping up in the Shell forecourt. I've got those, and basically I've never used that. I haven't needed to, and it was rumoured that they were going to be 50 pence per kilowatt, which that doesn't excite me one bit. Although there actually are apparently charging 25 pence per kilowatt. But I've got a Smooth card there. I've got a charge point card as well, which you can use that to activate the Instavolt chargers. They are also charge point chargers. Don't see many charge point chargers where I am, but it's easier to use your debit card on a card as well. And then the new motion chargers, I've never seen one actually, and I sort of have that just on the notion that I might need it. So yeah, when you start off with an EV, you get all these cards, but no, you don't need them. You need a Polar card, you need the PodPoint app. There's a video how to use the PodPoint app, by the way, on my channel, and that's it. I wouldn't bother with any of the others. Yeah, Ecotricity is app only as well. So probably Ecotricity ones, electric highway chargers, is the fact that when you stop and you plug it in, you're trying to activate the charger, very often your camera on your phone doesn't read the barcode, or more to point, that app doesn't read the barcode. So then you've got to take your gloves off and put a number in for the charger. And then you've got to find your debit card out anyway and put in the 3-digit number on the back of your card into the app to make sure to get it working. Well, it's a faff. You know, it should just be able to go up with your debit card or your RFID card for whichever charger it is, and basically just activate it. Just contactless. That's all it should take. I think I've exhausted that subject. I hope that answers your question, Oliver. Probably answered it about half an hour ago, actually. Let's do a bit more update. We're getting closer, so we're 22 miles to go, and because we've been a bit more hilly, we've got 34 miles on the gun. So I've got a 12 mile safety margin. Still doing 4.2 miles per kilowatt hour. In case you're wondering what that beep is that's happening periodically, that beep is the lane keeping assist. The car does a really good job of steering when it can see the road markings clearly, so my grip on the steering wheel, my hand is still on the steering wheel, gets a bit light, and I just go with which way the car wants to go. It's nice and relaxing, but occasionally it thinks you're nodding off, so it gives you that warning. One thing with the lane keeping assist, if you go on cruise control, say you set to 60 mile an hour, what will happen is if it beeps at you and you ignore it, basically you'll still be doing 60 mile an hour on the cruise control. It will still keep you in lane, but then you ignore it a second time, yeah, you'll still keep doing 60 mile an hour, you'll still keep in lane. But the third time, it will deactivate the lane keeping assist, but the cruise control will keep going. So, hello cliff, hello rock face, hello barrier, hello vehicle to the side of you. You've got no steering assistance whatsoever, so you keep your hands on the steering wheel. Lane keeping assist is pretty good. The Kona has a thing called LFA, which I believe is lane following assist, which means that the car doesn't ping pong so much between the white lines. The lane keeping assist is looking through two cameras at the white lines, and basically if there's a slight deviation or say an arrow pointing down a slip road, can get a little sometimes. First time I tried it, you get used to it. So 32 miles on the gum. 31 miles on the gun, 19 to go. So yeah, 12 mile comfort zone. Battery percentage, 29%. Miles per kilowatt hour, 4.2. And yeah, isn't it nice to stay in the sunshine? The one thing I can't abide is in winter is grey dullness. Does my head in. So lovely to see a bit of sun. Yeah. Still running the cabin temperature at 21. That's consistent. Getting a bit of melt off heat. Yeah, it's funny when you first get an electric vehicle, actually. You tend to think, oh, I'm going to need that app and I'm going to need this app. And then you pare it down. When you know what your regular journeys are, you know where your charges are, you pare down what cards you need. You pare down what apps you need as well. And I think that comes down to the just-in-case mentality, you know, because range anxiety is often talked about. Well, there isn't any range anxiety. I mean, if you pick up an anxious tone in my voice, I know I've been doing this for coming up to 6 months now, but I know there's chargers nearby. As I'm coming along here now, I've got, you know, that 12 mile spare capacity, but I know between me and my workplace, there are 2 rapid chargers that I know of. That basically I could easily get to. One at a park and ride bus place, and another one at a hotel at the NEC. So it's no big deal. When you start off, the anxiety that you do get with sort of, oh, will I get there, will I not? Can I trust the Gesso meter? That wears out as you begin to trust it because it proves itself to you. It's handy to have a plan B, particularly if you're going to be in an area where you are reliant on electric highway chargers, ecotricity, because they're not reliable. It really is a good idea to have a plan B and sort of think to yourself, where do I go next? I remember first journey I sort of did long range, I went to stop at an ecotricity charger at Peterborough Services. Waste of time. And then there was a Starbucks just up the road that got a brand new Genie point charger. Couldn't get the app to work. That app's not good. I don't use Genie Point. So I ended up going out of my way, admittedly, and yeah, I was out of my way by probably about 6 miles, but I had plenty of range to do it, to go to a Polar charger at a sports centre in a village in just in the outskirts of Peterborough. So yeah, it was okay. And once I think you've got to go through that anxiety-provoking sort of situation as well, where you think to yourself, oh damn, the charger's not working, what do I do? To then prove, actually, do you know what, you can cope with it. I mean, the great thing is that, well, though, when you buy your Hyundai ioniq, particularly if you buy new, you know, you get AA cover with it, and should you actually run out of battery, which I don't often, in fact, I've never seen an electric car at the side of the motorway with its battery depleted, but I've seen plenty of cars, plenty of people walking around with fuel tanks on the hard shoulder. Should you actually get a depleted battery, the AA will come and they usually will stick you on a flatbed, and they will basically take you to the nearest charger that you can access. So there's no worries there, is there? Bit of inconvenience, sure. I think that's the same with the Nissan Leaf as well. They have that service. RAC and the AA have put out some publicity in the past saying they've actually equipped some of their vans with chargers, a 7 kilowatt charger basically, a battery based unit, so a portable charger, so they could actually give you 7 kilowatts in an hour at the roadside, and basically they'll give you enough range to get to your next charger with a little bit of margin. Whether these actually exist, I've never heard of anybody on social media say, oh, I've run out and this van came to my rescue, or whether it's publicity. I don't know. And you will get a lot of people out there, the naysayers of electric vehicles, that will say, yeah, until it does 500 miles, I'm not buying an electric car. Don't succumb to that. Seriously. If your bladder can go 500 miles, you're inhuman. You need to stop. One of the great things with Polar chargers is that their charging network is largely based at hotels. Motorway services toilets, let's be honest, they're disgusting. I'd rather go to the Novotel down the road from the services at Nottingham, plug in at the Polar there, and grab 10, 20, 30 minutes worth of electric. And their bathrooms are so much more cleaner and modern, rather than having to go talking on a live stream video about public toilets. It's not great, is it? Okay, so we're coming near to the end of the journey now. Still on the M42, heading towards Coventry. Let's give the windscreen a little bit of a wipe. And we've got 23% battery left. 25 miles on the gum. 24 miles on the gum. 12 miles to go. So this is the bit where I start to feel, oh yeah, I can relax a bit more now, because I know I've got double the range that I need. I've got 12 miles to go. 24 miles range. And yeah, you could hammer it from here in. I'm still doing 60 mile an hour behind this lorry anyway. Miles per kilowatt hour, 4.3 now. Temperature outside is now 2 degrees. Remember, we started off, it was -4, then went to -5. And some pretty horrid fog as well. Not that fog, I think, has any impact on your battery as such. But yeah, it's we're looking good for getting there without any problem whatsoever. So on the battery gauge, it's worth noting, because again, you know, traditional cars have sort of left us feeling somewhat anxious when you hit the red line, you know. I'm on 1 bar above the red. The red has 3 bars within it, and I don't really pay much attention to that bar, to be honest. I'll look more at the gum. I don't really need that bar at all on the right hand side. I just need to know. I would like to know the battery percentage and the range I've got left on the dashboard. The ioniq at the moment just shows you the range you've got left. You're going to go into the EV mode to tell you what percentage you've got. I wouldn't mind that. 20% battery, 22 miles left on the gum, and 10 miles of my journey to go. So again, we're keeping reasonably consistent. So thanks for joining me on this this journey. Put yourself forward for a knighthood if you've watched the entire video, because it's been a long one. And if you've joined part way through and contributed, I really appreciate that. If you've joined part way through and not contributed, that's fine. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. I'm going to keep the live stream going. I ended the live stream on Tuesday at around about this point. But I'm going to keep the live stream going so that just in case I do get the battery warning come up, you guys can hear it. We're just exiting the M42 now and going to join the A45. So 9 miles to go, 21 on the gum. So still got that 12-mile margin. 4.3 miles per kilowatt hour on this this journey. %, battery left. Gotta love the regen, slowing down. I'm only just touching the brake now, just to bring me to a complete stop. The rest of that was just foot off the accelerator. And you're just putting energy back into the battery when you're slowing down like that as well. So that's really good. This next bit of dual carriageway is 60 mile an hour. So even while I'm sat here, I'm going to go into the limit mode again. I showed that earlier in the video. And I'm going to set that up to 60. What's really good is when you set the limit, the speedometer actually shows you a green line all the way up to the speed that you've set, and it illuminates up to the figure 60, so 70, 80, 90, 100, etc. They're not illuminated. It's telling me I can go 60 mile an hour, and that's it. I like that. Doesn't give you false hope, but also it gives you a sense of certainty that you're not going to go over that limited speed. There's a few cameras on this road, so you know, again, it's just a nice, well thought out feature, which is, yeah, I like it. Yeah, I can remember having a Hyundai Tucson many years ago. It was so basic. It was an automatic diesel. It used to do about 30 to the gallon, 4-wheel drive. If you selected it, 2-wheel drive, front-wheel drive the rest of the time. Horrible thing. Never could select the right gear for what you needed. And yeah, comfy, yes. They've always had the comfiness pretty much right of Hyundai. And now, gosh, I mean, my wife's got a Volvo XC60, beautiful car, kills the planet, absolutely, but beautiful car, and great 4-wheel drive system in it, by the way, driving in winter. But I'd have the Hyundai over it anytime, because the interface for usage, the settings, just much more logical. I get into the Volvo and try and set profiles up for what she likes in terms of automatic headlights and whatever it does. The heating set comes on at a set temperature when she puts the key or goes in with the car with her key fob and stuff. And it's like, hold on, I've lost automatic wipers now. You've reset the temperature, and I never did anything with the automatic wipers, so why would she lose it? That's strange. Over complex. Hyundai is very, very logical. They've come on as a manufacturer. I think they're now rated by, I think it's Top Gear magazine, as the best manufacturer in the UK. And I can understand why. The quality is really good. There's no shakes and rattles. The fun factor of the car is really good. The reliability, touch wood, having now done 21,000 miles, is been faultless. And yeah, it's a pleasure. It really is a pleasure to drive. And the fact that they've actually done like different versions, same car but different versions, powertrains, stuff like that, I think really commendable. It's giving people an option, which is really good. Yeah, hybrids, you see. I mean, is this a Prius taxi in front? Private hire car? Yeah, the one with the vapour coming out of the exhaust. Yep, that's the new Prius. It's amazing how many taxi drivers like to have a good look at your electric car when you've got one, because they all know they've got to go over to them at some point. So yeah. Okay, update, 5 miles away from location. Now, as I said, I knew I would lose a bit of range because probably the road surface and also a bit of temperature. I've now got 15 now. Yeah, 15 on the gum. So I will have 10 miles as a comfort zone. We're doing 60, 4.2 miles per kilowatt hour. Battery percentage 14%. So let's see if we can get the battery warning light to actually come on, and so you guys can hear the alarm as well. At this point, I'm usually looking at my charging settings because I'm going to plug into a 7 kilowatt charger at work. I don't want charge on schedule on because I don't want to just charge it overnight. I want it to charge now as soon as I plug it in. So again, you'll see this on a video also on the channel about how to set the charging timers. I'm looking at leaving work around about 6:30, so I'm going to set the timer for a departure time 6:30. Climate is set to 22 degrees. And I've also asked it to demist the windscreen. Make sure the day is checked as well on the bottom. So Thursday, yes, that's checked. And all we need to do then is press OK. Now you can't see that, so it's a little bit sort of naff. But please go back to the video. You see how amazing this car is elsewhere on my channel in terms of how to set the charging timer and the climate. It's a breeze, it really is. I'd love if we had an app. I really would, but actually the Blue Link doesn't work in the UK for some reason. There isn't an app that Hyundai do for the UK market. I see that is being done in Australia. Because somebody's actually like taken the fuse box cover off and they've seen the OBD transmitter connected to the OBD port. And yeah, gosh, we need that in the next ioniq, definitely. That'd be really good. There's that whir. I hope you can pick that up. That motor whir. And it's so nice. It becomes very addictive after. So I think they're like if you thought the car rocked, then it's the camera mount that rocked. I apologise for that. It's not a great camera mount that I'm on. And there's the battery warning light. So what you get on the dashboard is you get low battery. Comes up in the right hand screen, you get an orange battery symbol appear on the bottom right hand corner. I'll try and take a video of this as basically I'll stop at work. And on your main sat-nav display, it then gets a window that comes up over the top of it. It says low EV battery warning. Please find the nearest charging station, 13%, and it's telling me my range as well, it's 13 miles. Well, I'm less than a mile from work now, so we're going to get that absolutely fine. There's an option to get rid of that, so we'll press OK. If you press OK on the steering wheel to try and get rid of the alarm, it thinks you're just ignoring it, you're not paying it enough attention, and it will alarm back at you. So don't do that, just let it disappear on its own accord. Nice little bit. Poor guy running in this weather and interrupted by vehicles going on a road. Didn't he look hacked off? I do feel sorry for him, it's interrupted his flow, I guess, and his rhythm. No, I'm not being sarcastic, no, not really. Maybe. Don't know. Okay, so here's my place of work. Just ahead here at the junction. Bit of a dodgy junction, this one. We're out. So nice and icy around here. Okay, so I'm arriving with 12 miles. As predicted, that was the margin. And very nicely, there's my cones, and that's my charger. And so, yeah, let's just put the handbrake on. So 4.3 miles, let's show you. So you've been good enough to stay on right to the very end. Let's take this off. So 4.3 miles per kilowatt hour, 12 miles spare. And basically we've done that 97 miles, so 12 onto 97, 109. So I think that's pretty reasonable for the temperature. You see, we're down to 1 degree at the moment. Shame the battery warning didn't come on, but you can see there's the battery warning light there. Obviously the battery warning did come on, but it's a shame it didn't just come on to actually show you the main display. Really, I need somebody else to help me film that. So yeah, so thank you very much, those of you that have been through, really appreciate it, for the whole journey, or watch the whole video. That's really good of you, and you get to see my ugly mug. Yeah, thanks very much for that, and have a great day, and yeah, really appreciate all the comments. Take care.